again, everyone. Welcome to Calimesa Insider. I am Will Coble, City Manager for the City of Calimesa, and we're going to get right into it. So today's episode is going to feature my presentation from the State of the City yesterday. And now, obviously, there was a PowerPoint that went along with that and a lot of hand gestures and things like that. It was obviously for a live in-person audience. So it may not translate wholly to this format. But so if you want to see the full thing, get the full experience, we are working on editing the video so that it can be posted to our YouTube page at cityofcalimesa.net/YouTube. You'll also be able to see special presentations by State Senator Rosa-Licia Ochoa-Bogue, as well as Mayor Bill Davis. So if you, like I said, if you want to see the whole thing, we're going to post the State of the City in full on our YouTube page, but we had to take it in several videos at a time because there were breaks for lunch, things like that. So we're going to get that cleaned up for you and posted so that you can enjoy that. But if you want to listen to it now, here it is. This is my presentation from yesterday. Hope you enjoy it. And we're going to end the show right after that. So we will see you next week on the podcast. Thank you for joining us and enjoy.
Thank you for being here, everyone. I want to echo some of the things that we heard from Ruben and Councilmember Voigt from Beaumont, is that I do appreciate all the regional collaboration, all our regional partners here today. That was one of the first things I was going to emphasize, and that's kind of fits into our theme too, because our theme this year is Embrace the Charm. And so throughout my presentation, I'm going to try to tie that into the things that we do. But as Mayor Davis said, I really want to highlight our staff and all that they do. But before I get to that, I do want to thank all of the regional partners. There's too many here to name, but I appreciate your support in being here, and I look forward to continuing to make this pass a better place to work and play. So I can't say enough how much respect I have for these five, and it's not just because they're my bosses, but a city manager's job is a lot easier when you have a council that gets along and that has respect for one another. They don't always have to agree, right? But if they can do it in a respectful way and they know that each of them are there for the right reasons, it makes staff's jobs that much easier, and we can move things that we need to move forward. And that's exactly what we try to do each and every day. So I want to thank the council for the support of me, and more importantly, for the support of our staff. So charming towns are often known for their close-knit communities, and I think we talked about that with our collaboration. But our admin staff, pictured here, really puts that to work. So in addition to all the administrative tasks that they do, you have Chrissy and Patrice that if you call City Hall or you come into City Hall, they're the first ones you see. They're friendly faces. Yeza is such a tremendous force around our community events, which have really taken off for us. And one thing I forgot to mention is at the end, I want you to think about the number 15. Keep that in mind, okay? So I want to talk about some of our community events. I want to highlight those, some of our efforts in advocacy, communications, and economic development. So here's some pictures from our events starting from last year's State of the City. We actually did a fair. It was one of the hottest days of the year, unfortunately, so that didn't impact things, but it was a great event for our community. Our community cleanup event, in addition to our administrative staff who kind of coordinates these things, our public works crew does a great job of helping out with all of these events as well. Trunk or Treat was our first one, great success for us. And our tree lighting, that's a highlight event for us. And we have the snow, it was very festive. Great turnout. I think we're gonna have to start figuring out maybe a different venue because, is that better? Am I good now? Okay. Told I gotta move over a little bit. We may, at the rate we're going, we may need a bigger parking lot, I think, right? The very next day, we had the Christmas parade, which is put on by the Chamber of Commerce, and but we do a lot of work with that as well. This event. This is one of two spay and neuter clinics. I want to thank our finance director Celeste Reed, who went out got a grant for us to fund this event, so we were able to give a free spay and neuter clinic for our community. This event was really special. Our Easter egg hunt. So the agility of our staff to adjust. This event was originally supposed to be at Summerlin Park, but rain got in the way, and so they quickly regrouped. They moved the event indoors into our senior center, and as you can see, it was a tremendous success. Everybody loved it, and the creativity of our staff to be able to put this indoors so quickly was amazing. And you can see from this picture, everyone's hands-on. Everyone's all hands on deck for all of our events. Earth Day, another great event for us. This is our second Earth Day that we did. Popsicles in the park. Our public works crews, I know a lot of you can't see this, but they actually built a car wash for the kids. It was pretty amazing, and the kids loved it, and so it was a great turnout. And that's just the creativity of our team is just off the charts. It was awesome. Yes, that's right. The two popsicles as well. National Night Out. This is the first time we participated in the region's National Night Out, so we were glad to be out there in force. And I want to highlight this one as well. This was done. We can't take all the credit, of course, because the Beaumont Cherry Valley Recreation and Park District, Mickey Valdivia. I appreciate our partnership as well. They helped us put us on the event. They actually did most of the work for this, and it was sponsored by Supervisor Gutierrez. So another example of our collaboration. This was a great event. People were already asking us when is our next one going to be, so we're going to try to do more of these next year. So I'm looking at you, Mickey. We're going to be calling you. So another thing that our admin staff does is their liaison for our library. So our library is run by the county, and we are working with the county to build a brand new library. As a matter of fact, it's actually gone vertical. The construction is going very, very quickly. It's going to be at the site of the old library. Right now, the library is temporary in the Bank of America building, so the county was able to work out a very nice arrangement with Bank of America to utilize the empty building, and so that thing's coming along very, very quickly. So we're hoping to have the library open next summer. So we're looking forward to that. Little shameless plug for me, the Calamasa Insider Podcast. So when we're talking about communications, this is one of the things that I am trying to do in that realm, and it's about the why. And so I record an episode every Friday. There's a QR code here. There's a flyer as you leave that you can pick up if you're interested. But I really want to communicate more to our community. I think that there's a gap in knowledge sometimes about what local government does and how they do it and why they do the things. And so that's what I'm trying to do here, is just very much about education about not only what we're doing, but how local government works in general. On our economic development side, we worked with the Chamber of Commerce to put together a Shop Calamasa gift card program. This was for the holiday shopping season in 2023. It was a buy one, get one, so the city invested $33,000 to match purchases of gift cards, and they could be used at the 12 local merchants that signed up for the event, for the program. They had to be locally owned and operated businesses to participate in the program. And it was a very good success. It sold out very, very quickly. I still get receipts, actually. I get reports every time that a card gets used, and we're still getting little receipts for trickling in, but it was a very successful program, and we hope that it was a good shot in the arm for our local business community. On the advocacy side, I do want to highlight Councilmember Molina on the right there. She recently went to Washington, D.C. to lobby for Riverside County Transportation Commission and the Riverside Transit Agency. Fortunately, while she was there, she was able to squeeze in a couple of meetings on behalf of the city of Calamasa, and one of them was with the Department of Transportation. As I'm going to talk about later, we have a major, major project. How many think that the Cherry Valley Boulevard interchange is just fine the way it is? Yeah, I agree with you. But it's a very, very expensive project, and so we're doing our best to start outreach now. We're still in design phase. We're going to get to that project in a minute, but that is one of the things she was there advocating for on our behalf. We also had met with the Office of Congressman Ken Calvert, and Congress has community project funding. That's just a fancy word for earmarks. And the congressman was able to secure $7 million in the fiscal year 24 budget for 3 different projects for the city of Calamasa, which is huge for us. And as we go along in the presentation, I'll show you some of the projects that he's funding. We've also requested another $5 million. Of course, that's subject to congressional budget approval, but is included in the budget, and so we're excited for that as well. I was able to work with Assemblymember Greg Wallace's office on our Grab and Go senior meal program. That was a program that was created under COVID rules. Unfortunately, because COVID protocols are going away, most of the time that's a good thing. In this case, probably not so much, because we have a program that is not allowed under current rules. But it's been very, very popular. Our seniors have come to rely on it. So we contacted all our local elected or state elected officials, and Greg Wallace's office was able to help us out. Unfortunately, the bill did not make it all the way to the governor's desk. It passed the funny thing is, it made it there, and I think Senator Ochoa Bogue can probably sympathize with this. It made it all the way through without a single vote and never even got to the governor's desk. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But I do want to thank Senator Bogue for supporting it in the Human Services Committee, so I thank you for that. But it did bring attention to our program, and so now we're working with the State Office on Aging to try to correct that program not being included, and we're going to try to work that going forward. So Charming Sounds have parks, trees, and other green spaces. And when I think of that, I think of our Public Works crew, because they are the ones that take care of our parks. And I do want to talk about the people that are on this screen right now, because there's been a lot of major changes in our Public Works Department over the last month or so. Madi Shakir, she is our new interim Public Works Director. She works for Charles Abbott Associates. We contract with them for executive services, but you would never know it. If you didn't know she didn't get a paycheck from the state of Calimesa, you would think she's a city employee. She's there every day. She interacts. She's one of the team. She's one of the family. So we appreciate that. But in addition to parks, they also take care of our storm drains, our traffic signals, roads, medians, facilities. Next to Madi is Margaret Monson. She was our Public Works Director. She's still working on several projects. Mike McCabe is next to her. He retired after 26 years of service to the city of Calimesa. So it's bittersweet. We're happy for him for retirement, but somebody that's worked for 26 of our 34 years of existence, that's a lot. That's a lot. Next to him is Kyle Coney. He is our new Public Works Maintenance Superintendent. So he came to us from the city of San Jacinto. We're very glad to have you. So welcome, Kyle, to the team. Next to him is Robert Hagan, who was recently promoted to take Mike's spot as the maintenance lead worker. So congratulations to Robert. And finally, Anthony Gaona, who was promoted from maintenance worker 1 to maintenance worker 2. So every single person on the screen had something happen good for them recently. So I congratulate you guys, and I look forward to seeing the work you continue to do. So a couple of CIP projects they work on are these library sidewalk ADA improvements. With the library project going on, we're also making ADA improvements in front of the library. We're also making some improvements to the senior center that actually is older than the city. It was built in 1989. We're doing a roof renovation on that, and also restroom renovation. So it's an older facility, so obviously you have to take care of those, but we're looking forward to doing that so that we can continue to serve our senior community. But this is the biggest project of all that they're working on. So this Mountain View Park expansion, some of you may say, well, where's Mountain View Park? It is the renaming of 4th Street Park, because now 4th Street Park is going to go all the way to 5th Street. So couldn't call it 4th Street Park anymore, so we renamed it. But I do want to show you a quick video on what these improvements will look like. We did have the groundbreaking for this recently. Do we have any pickleball players here? Yeah? All right. So we're looking forward to that project. It is, like I said, the groundbreaking took place recently, and we're looking forward to the completion of that. Charming towns are known for being safe, and obviously always at the top of the list, or at least in the top 2 on the list, for what is most important for our residents is public safety. And so for our fire department, we started our own fire department, as you know, on January 1st, 2018. We're very, very proud of our department. They've accomplished a lot in their history. They accomplished a lot this year. I want to thank our fire chief, Tim O'Connell, for all the work that he does for us. Let's give him a hand. So in the last year, we actually added 2 new apparatus. We added truck 1, which is our aerial ladder truck, that was paid for through development fees, and so we appreciate that. And we have also Calamasa Engine 1. So when we started our department, we did inherit equipment from the county, and so we purchased this new piece of apparatus. Our new one, the one we were using went into reserves, and then the one that we had before that, we actually donated to to Crafton Hills College. So we were very happy to do that. A couple of things that we did, we transitioned to advanced life support. That means our fire department, when you have a medical call, they can provide paramedic services. This is a very big deal because now our medical response is faster because it's our guys responding to those medical calls and actually able to perform those life-saving measures. We also had a landmark agreement with the city of Yucaipa where we are providing auto aid for medical calls. Previously, it was just for fire suppression. We added medical. So that way it can better serve both communities. That's a big win for both the city of Calamasa and the city of Yucaipa, and we're glad to partner with them. And I think that the importance of our fire department really came into focus just recently. We had the line fire that we actually sent a crew to, and you can see some of the pictures that some of our guys took when they were out in the field. Despite being a small department, we actually had every single one of our guys on duty at the same time because we had a crew on the line fire, we had a crew on the airport fire, and of course we still had to take care of our city. So this really goes to show it's a stark reminder that we are in a fire-prone area, and our fire service is very, very important. As far as calls for service, these are our annual calls for service. We can see they've steadily gone up. This is probably almost directly related to development because it's kind of flattened out a little bit. However, if you add in year to date, we're on pace to have our biggest year yet. And I think with our auto aid agreement, we're going to probably see that even go up even more. For police services, we contract with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Recently, Captain Al Northrup joined the Cabazon Station. He serves as our police chief. And there's some questions that we get in terms of our police services and how that works, how our contract works. And there's some concerns about deputy coverage. So our contract states that we have 1 deputy on board 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, coupled with additional resources that are needed as needed from other areas. Because remember, it's not just, they don't serve just Calamasa, they serve the county areas surrounding Calamasa as well. So if we need the additional resources, we will get them. In addition, we get all of the other complement of service, investigations, canine, helicopters. So if we need special teams, we can get access to those. We also have our POP officer, Deputy Michael Hinkle is our POP officer. And so he is the one that if we have a problem somewhere that people are saying, hey, we wanted you to check this out, we wanted you to check this problem out, he will go out and investigate that. And so he's in constant communication with our staff, but he is dedicated to the city of Calamasa. And we also have a community services officer that is assigned to Calamasa exclusively as well. Her role actually helps our deputies so that she can take some reports that then allows them to go out and do deal with the bad guys. So it's a force multiplier, and so with all of those services combined, we are in good shape. As a matter of fact, I wanted to show you some stats on that. So it's hard to see in the back, I know, but this red bar represents our sworn personnel per 1,000. This is the median for all of the contract cities in Riverside County. We're a little bit below the median, but if you look at the numbers a little bit deeper, you look at calls per 1,000, we're right in the middle. We're just below the median. Priority 1 calls, we're just below the median. But I think this is probably the most poignant one. For calls per sworn officer, we want to make sure that our deputies aren't overtaxed. And looking at these numbers, we're a little bit below the median on that as well. Another thing, so we look at our calls for service. When I got here, and then when Captain Evan Peterson, who was here before Al Northrup, came in, I really talked about our service model and trying to improve some certain things that I saw as problems. One area that we've really improved upon is our our average response time on priority one calls. And that went from 9.3 minutes in 2022 to 7.17 minutes in 2023. We dropped it over 2 minutes. This is another interesting stat that I asked Captain Peterson, that he said he actually never been requested for this information before, and then Captain Northrup has provided this as well. This is calls, deputy-initiated calls versus citizen calls for service. This blue area represents our citizens' calls for service. This is deputy-initiated. 40% of our calls are deputy-initiated calls. What that indicates is that our deputies are able to do a lot of proactive policing. And that's important, because when you have deputies that are just going call after call after call after call, and that blue area gets bigger, that's when you know that your deputies are probably being overtaxed. So this is a very good stat for the city of Calimesa to see that so many of our calls are able to be done through the officer's own initiation. Crime, we are, from 2022 to 2023, we were down 7.3% year to date. That's through August. From 2023 to 2024, Part 1 crimes, those are the serious crimes, down 22.4%. Yeah, it's awesome. This is kind of a map. I know it's hard to see again. If you want a copy of it, you can contact me. But if you look at where the concentration of crimes happen, it is right along Calimesa Boulevard, retail, right? That's a big deal, not just in Calimesa. That's a big deal statewide. And that's why things like Prop 36 come up, right? We've heard about the impacts of Prop 47. This is where it shows up, right here. This is exactly where it shows up. So things like Prop 36 to try to fix some of those things are very, very important. But in the meantime, we're also looking to enhance public safety. So we've purchased flock cameras last year. We installed 8 of those. They get about 1.2 million reads a month. These are cameras that are hooked to a national network that help our deputies solve crimes and helps us spot bad guys. So if they get a hit on somebody that is a suspect in a crime, they will come in and that'll pop up, and it'll be able to direct our deputies to check it out. We also are trying to enhance our public safety ordinances. We've already implemented an ordinance for catalytic converters. We are shortly going to be looking at camping in public spaces. That has to do with the Grants Pass decision. So City of Boise, there was a decision that said that you couldn't enforce camping in public, anti-camping ordinances if you did not have enough beds, shelter beds. The Grants Pass decision more recently reversed that. And so now we're looking at making sure that we have ordinances that, again, allow our deputies to have tools to be able to enforce the law. We're also looking to enforce on shopping carts and also fires in public spaces, because again, we're in a very fire-prone area, and so we want to make sure that we have ordinances in place that help our fire department as well as our police, our sheriff's department. Our fire chief is very, very big on our community risk reduction program. Those are things that are in our power to help you with your homeowner's insurance, because we know that's a huge, huge problem in this state. There's not a lot that we can control, but to the extent that we can, we're doing that. We're investing more time and energy in fire prevention. We're also encouraging communities to create a fire-safe council. That's not something that we can do. It has to be a grassroots effort, but I encourage you to look at that, because that's another way that you can either make sure you keep your homeowner's coverage or even reduce your rates. We also are building a EOC, Emergency Operations Center, as part of our future fire headquarters. We did get $1 million in federal funding from Ken Calvert to help us build that. And finally, we have a Sheriff's Ad Hoc Committee. It consists of Mayor Pro Tem Hewitt and Councilmember Manley. And they have tasked us with coming up with ways to enhance our COP program. At one point, we had a really big membership in our COP program, and unfortunately that's dropped off a little bit. We're trying to revitalize that to, again, fly the flag, make sure that we are seen and heard in the community, because that is very, very important to know that for the bad guys to know that there are people out there watching them. And so if you're interested in the program, we're very interested in having people come in and join us for the COP program. We're trying to expand it so that it also encompasses fire and also code enforcement, because it's all about quality of life. Charming towns can be known for their natural beauty, such as rivers, lakes, or snow-capped mountains, and of course you know that that's a huge part of who we are and our identity here in Calimesa. So our planning department has to deal with not only our planning ordinance or zoning ordinance, which is probably the most complicated ordinance that any city has. We're also managing entitlements for over 7,000 homes, several 100,000 square feet of retail space, potentially millions of square feet of industrial. And so you would think that with the growth pattern that we're in, that the amount of work that we have with our planning department, you would think that we would have a huge, huge planning department, right? Do you want to see a picture of our huge planning department? 2. Kelly and Celine, they do an awesome job. Now, they do have consultants that help them out on some of the major projects, but they do a lot of the heavy lifting and they do so much work. But I also want to say, there's not 2 people in this picture, there's 4. Celine, actually on the left, she was due October 12th. She had her baby last night. So she was supposed to be here today, but obviously she couldn't make it. And Kelly Lucia just found out she's expected a baby boy. So we're very, very happy for them. So yes, thank you. Thank you. But it's going to be, takes a hard job and makes it even harder. But no, we support them, and we're very happy to have them. They do a great job for us. So one thing that I want to point out, this is a picture of our zoning map. 25% of the land in Calimesa is permanent open space. The Regional Conservation Authority owns over 1,900 acres of land in Calimesa. The Rivers and Lands Conservancy owns another 438. So when people say that we're losing our open space, I don't know, that's a pretty good number. In addition to that, our specific plans that we have being built on the west side here are going to dedicate even more open space. The Mesa Verde specific plan proposes over 500 additional acres. Several hundred more acres will be part of the Summerwind specific plan as that gets built out. So we do value our open space, and when we're planning these things, we're very, very sensitive to that. And developers know that too. They know that. Some of the accomplishments, we did have a controversial issue come through and get passed. That was the residential infill priority area overlay zone. But we were able to listen to the community, make changes to it, and still have something that will be not only something that promotes the housing that's needed, that's required by the state, but was something that could be tolerable for our community. So it was a compromise. There was one plan. The community spoke their piece. The council asked us to make changes, and we were able to make changes to accommodate for that. So it was, and actually, when we went from a room full of pretty angry people to people coming up to the council and thanking them for their efforts on their behalf. The housing element of our general plan, this is something that every city in California is dealing with. We just had ours recently approved by the city council, and that overlay zone was a big part of that. We had to do that to get to our RHNA numbers, and especially in our low income areas. So we did get that approved. We're still waiting for the Department of Housing and Community Development to approve that, however. But I did want to highlight one thing on housing, and this is really kind of why we are where we are. This shows a chart going all the way back to 1960. Starting in 1975, they actually did separate out multifamily from single-family homes. The purple is single-family, the blue is multifamily. You can see after the recession of 2009 down here, our housing stock never really recovered. So when we talk about having a housing crisis, I think there is. However, the question is, whose responsibility was that? The state would have you believe that it's us, it's cities, that we block these things. Last time I checked, Calimesa has over 7,000 homes entitled. We don't build homes. We can entitle them, but we don't build them. So what that tells me is that maybe there are some things that cities can do a little bit better, but the state needs to understand that we are trying to do our part the best we can, but they cannot keep giving us inconsistent mandates and unrealistic mandates that is a one-size-fits-all. That's the challenge that we have. And there are a lot of regulatory agencies that are outside HCD that are enforcing us to do things that are suppressing our ability or it's also suppressing developers' ability to build housing. So that's just something I want you to keep in mind, that there is a problem. These numbers show it, but the question is, who is responsible for that? We all have to work together to try to solve this problem, but for the state to tell us that it's our problem, I think is unfair. And so you can see how that works here in Calimesa. So this red line is number of sales, the gray line is our median price of homes. This fell off because this was Summerwind getting done. Now this is just sales of existing homes. So a quick development update. I'm not going to go through this because there is a development update handout at the exit. So if you want to grab that, you want to know more about the specifics of our developments, you can check that out. Basically, these things are in there, so I'm going to skip that. Part of community development is our building and safety folks, and they ensure, we obviously live in a earthquake-prone area as well as a fire-prone area, and these are the folks that do the inspections to ensure that homes are built and businesses are built so that they can withstand earthquakes, they can withstand fires. Code enforcement, probably, Daryl in the middle there is our code enforcement officer. That's probably one of those thankless jobs because you're either doing too much of it or you're doing not enough, right? You have people that want to just go after people, and others that will say, don't, you're infringing on my rights. So it's a thankless job, but he does a great job, and he tries to work as quickly as best he can with the community. Cozy Main Street. So charming towns have a cozy main street. And these guys are the ones that help us going with that, our engineering folks. So this is where I want to talk about our city projects. Our city pavement management program. We have invested $2.5 million last year. We're going to invest another $2.5 million for a total of $5 million investing in our streets. Primary funding source for that was ARPA money, the American Rescue Plan, Measure A, General Fund. Next year we have to do our update of our pavement management, so we're going to be doing that to make sure we know which streets need to go next. We know we have a road problem in the city. We know our roads are not in great shape. We acknowledge that. We're frustrated by it too. But maintaining roads is very, very, very expensive, and we did inherit a road network that's pretty old to begin with from the county. So we are trying to do our best to try to plan and scrim funds together so that we can pave as much as we can. So this is a couple of before pictures for our most recent project, and here's the result. Yeah, looks good. Now, everyone's favorite subject. Glad everyone's done eating and doesn't have any more things on their plate that they can throw at me. We're talking about County Line Road. Yeah. The project's been going great. No problems at all. It's fantastic. No, it's been challenging, obviously, and we still have more to go. It's coordination with lots of different agencies on this project, and there's a lot of utilities in that along that road, and that's been a big part of our challenge, and I'm going to highlight that in a second. I know that roundabouts are a sore subject. I will just say that when you have an existing road that the capacity has to be enhanced, there's only so many ways you can do it. Roundabouts are probably the cheapest way and the fairest way, because the alternative would have been to expand County Line Road when you already have existing homes and businesses along both sides. That means lots of eminent domain, something that the city has no interest in doing unless we absolutely have to. So roundabouts were the solution that was come up with to enhance capacity to an existing road. There is another separate project at the intersection of County Line Road and Calimesa Boulevard, where we do have primary funding of that from Ken Calvert, $4 million for the construction of that project. But I do want to highlight a couple of the successes of the County Line Road project. The poles in the middle of the street, everyone remembers that. That was fun. So we have timing cooks on this project that we have to meet, and unfortunately, Edison was not able to meet those timelines, and so we had to build around it. And that's just the way it goes sometimes. But thankfully, those poles have been located off the road, and we're good to go there. And then, of course, there's this one, the world's largest speed bump. And that one of our I know this was in the news mirror at one point, but one of our public works guys did take that picture, and I thought that was pretty funny. Sometimes you just you have to just take it, right? Because there's nothing that you can say. That speed bump is there, though. I do want to say there is a function for it. It has to do with water flow down County Line Road. So when it's coming in from east to west, water coming down there, Bryant doesn't have any curbs or gutters to the south of that project, and that's where the water flows. And so we did that to protect the homes on Bryant. So that's why that's there. When the project's done and the crowning is done with the final pavement, that bump will go away. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Ray. Yeah, I know. We're looking forward to that too. Interstate 10. So this was a pretty cool photo I found from a previous State of the City. This is Highway 7099 before Interstate 10 was there. This is a picture of Interstate 10 when it was probably first built. Unfortunately, through our section of Interstate 10, it pretty much still looks like that. There have been no improvements on our stretch of Interstate 10, unfortunately. But we're trying to do something about it, and we have two projects for that. Number one, Singleton Road missing interchange missing ramps. Those were supposed to be built. Those missing ramps were supposed to be built, but unfortunately, they weren't for whatever reason. We saw the construction plans; they were supposed to be built, and they just never got done. So we're going to do that now. We have a combination of funding from WRCOG and from Community Project funding through Ken Calvert. Those are fiscal year 25 funds, though. So that's still pending with the adoption of the federal budget. So we're hoping with that funding, we can start construction on that in early 2026. We're trying to bump that timeline up a little bit, but that will include a realignment of Calamasa Boulevard. But the big one, the $80 million project for the Cherry Valley Boulevard interchange. So a number of funding sources we're putting together for that, but we still are short, and that's where Councilmember Molina went to visit DOT, Department of Transportation. That'll probably be the first of several visits we're trying to do to lobby for money for this project. This project not only serves the city of Calamasa, it does serve a lot of residents in Beaumont, it serves a lot of the residents of Cherry Valley, so it's a very important project. But I do want to show you one of the interesting aspects of this project, and that is the diverging diamond. So this is where the roadway actually crosses over, so it looks like you're on the wrong side. So we do have a quick video to show you exactly how that works. You can see how the road crosses over, but we do have an illustration of how that works. So they're actually going to zoom in on a car going eastbound on Cherry Valley Boulevard. So as you approach the intersection, you can see where you cross over, and now the eastbound traffic is on the left side, and you can then make a free left onto the freeway right there. So that actually does reduce touch points for flow, so it does improve traffic flow. And so we were able to build a more enhanced capacity interchange without having to take a lot of land for that. So this is just going the same way, going the other way, but we can skip that for now. So finally, financial stewards, charming towns are fiscally responsible. One thing I will point out, this is our finance team that does a terrific job for us on all these different things. Our budget book was created by Alana Figueroa, our accountant, our budget document cover. But one of the things that I do want to point out is in 2022, the state controller used to do, as not state controller, the state auditor, used to do a fiscal health index. Calamasa, there's 482 cities, well there's 483 now, but at the time there was 482 cities in California. Calamasa was number 1 in fiscal health in 2022, number 1. So the council gets I don't get any credit for that because I wasn't here, so I can't take credit for that. But a lot of credit goes to the city council for their responsible spending, and also to my predecessor Bonnie Johnson for the work that she did for the city as well. Now I have a lot of slides related to finances, but I know it's getting late. I know people are. We were probably a little over time, so I'm just going to go a couple of things real quick. Here's our budget. 62% of our funding is spent on public safety. That's pretty much the way it is for all cities. Our revenue, property tax. This is another piece of property tax that we get and sales tax is about $1.7 million. So that's a big significant part of our revenue. As far as how much property tax we get, when you pay your property tax, we get 29% broken up between the general fund and fire fees. We also get a little bit of money over there on that other side, the 8.5% for ERAF. That's a whole complicated thing. That could do a whole thing on that, but we won't do that right now. But this is one thing I did want to emphasize, and that is, this is the breakdown of the net taxable value for all of our properties. About over 75% of our revenue on property tax comes from residential, okay? But our second biggest category is vacant. So when we're looking at economic development, when we're looking at development in the city in general, where that vacant goes into these other categories is really going to dictate what our city looks like in the future. So because we have such a big category there are a lot of possibilities, right? And so when we're looking at land use, when we're looking at economic development, that category is the real key, and that will dictate how we get our revenue, how much revenue we get, and what our service has to look like. So that's a very, very important thing that we're constantly focused on. These are our top 10 property taxpayers by net taxable value. They represent about 10% of our total. But you can see there's several vacant ones up there, commercial, residential. Residential usually those are mobile home parks, by the way. Plantation's actually on there. They're number 5 on the list, the site we're at now. So I will skip this over real quick, but basically residential home sales, residential median price was $562,000, but that's not how you get taxed, right? You get taxed on assessed value. Our overall median assessed value is only $369,000, but if you take out some of our more recent developments, it's only $258,000. So that's because of how property tax grows versus how sales happen. So I could get into a lot of what that means for us, but we don't have time to do that, unfortunately. But the bottom line is, you see this trajectory of growth, and then it kind of flattens out. The reason it flattens out is because development stopped. That's really the reason. So we had Singleton Heights here, we had Summerwind, and then those all got completed. Sales tax, we only get this portion of the sales tax dollar. So when you pay sales tax, it doesn't come all to the city. And this is a breakdown of where we get our revenue from sales tax. 34% comes from fuel and service stations. 23% comes from restaurant and hotels. So 57% comes from those two categories. When you compare it to the state's a lot more balanced. So this is an area of concern that we're focused on, and that our economic development efforts are focused on. This is our top 25 sales tax producers. 18 of the 25 come from those two categories I just talked about. 13 of them from restaurants, so over half are from restaurants and hotels. And actually, it's not hotels, it's just restaurants. So when you look at where we are compared to the state, we're a little bit behind. Not surprising, we don't have the big car dealerships, we don't have a Costco, we don't have an Amazon warehouse. So that does impact where we are. But you see this switch. This red line is Riverside County. They were kind of trending below the state numbers, and then they jumped over the state numbers starting in 2020. Why do you think that would be? It would be because of point of sale being for these warehouses. So when you have Amazon, you have Walmart, those things, all those big distributions, the point of sale is, if it's in California, that's where that revenue goes. So when you saw a proliferation of that and a change in taxing structure for Amazon especially, you actually saw that flip, and now Riverside County is actually ahead of where the state is. And that's even more pronounced on this chart, and I don't want to throw too much attention on our friends in Beaumont, but this orange line that goes way up, that's the city of Beaumont. Does anybody know why that might be? Just mentioned it. There you go. Thank you, Mayor. They went from about $10,000 per capita in 2019 to over $45,000 in 2022. That's humongous. That was, I think, probably $7 million to about $28 million in just 3 years. Amazing. And it's consistent because this brown line is Redlands. They had a bump as well for the same reason. This is our trends over time for our different categories. You can see the huge bump up in fuel and service stations. We had a couple of new outlets open, and that's why that went up like that. But when you're relying on gas, you're really sensitive to this stuff. This red line, of course, obviously represents the price of gas. I don't think anybody's surprised by that. This goes from Q1 2019 to the present. But this blue line represents consumption. And this has been a long-term trend because of two reasons. Number one, fuel efficiency standards. As fuel efficiency goes up, the amount of gas you need is less, right? Even if you're driving the same number of miles. But what's the second thing? Electric vehicles. No fuel at all, right? So when you're reliant on a third of your revenue from gasoline sales, that's a problem, right? Diesel fuel sales, not as much of a trend, but similar. But this is the one that I find interesting. This is the Amazon phenomenon. This is 2000. This top line here is brick and mortar sales. This is online sales. From 2012 to 2023, brick and mortar sales grew 20%. I don't know if everybody can see, some people can see this here, but not a lot of people can. In that same time period, 2012 to 2023, online sales grew 557%. Now you saw the big spike because of COVID. You see that little dip, that has to do with COVID as well. But online sales didn't slow down. People changed habits. Habits are changing tremendously. And so when we're looking at retail development, how we looked at it even 10 years ago is way different than we look at it today. You need a lot more rooftops to support retail development than you did just 10 years ago. And so those are things that we have to keep in mind in terms of our land use patterns and not relying on any one thing, because the longer we go and trends change, the more at risk we are. So and again, because of our growth, we saw an increase up in sales tax revenue, and it's kind of flattened out as well. Our reserves, one of the reasons we were number one in fiscal health is this reason, because we have very, very healthy reserves at the city of Calimesa, and we're very proud of that. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Made it. Okay, price time. Hope everyone was paying attention because I've got questions for you. Darlene, want to help me out with this? All right, first question. I hope I gave this information properly so that people actually remember it. What percentage of sheriff calls were initiated by the public in the January to August 2024 timeframe? Does anybody remember? What was that? 60%. That's right. All right, our next question. What percentage of land in Calimesa is currently held as permanent open space? Yes, who got it? All right, 25, another at that table. 25%, that's correct. I guess so, yeah. Engineers, yeah. Okay, next question. How much has the city invested and going to invest in pavement rehab this year and next year? There you go, it's $5 million. I said for a total of $5 million, see? I really made sure, I was really conscious to say that, so. How much is the Cherry Valley Interchange project estimated to cost? 80 million, wow, everyone knew. We don't have any, yeah, it's hard, there's too many that guessed on that, right? Do we? We'll give it, we'll pick somebody. What was the city's ranking in the State Controller's Office Fiscal Health Dashboard in 2022? This one's easy. Yes, number one, that's right. Bonus question, I asked you, 15, what is the number 15? Does anybody know what that represents? Now, nobody from over here can answer. I didn't actually mention what this was. Yes, the city staff. That's the number of city staff we have, 15. We do all of this with 15 people. That is, to me, is something that makes me so proud. And it's amazing how many hats all of our staff members wear. It really is humbling, and it's just awesome to see how creative everyone can get, because they get to get involved with so many different things. We obviously have additional consultants that help work with us too. So obviously we have support, but The fact that we have 15 city employees that do everything you know. Now, that does not count our fire department. Our fire department has 21 FTEs, so I will say that. And they do a tremendous job as well. So we have a total staff of 36, and it's amazing what we can get done. So in summary, Calimesa is a safe city, as I talked about with our calls for service. I think we're doing a good job with that. That doesn't mean that, by the way, that we're not looking to the future. That doesn't mean that we recognize that as we grow, that has to grow with us, and that is always going to be a focus for every project comes through our door. How does this impact our service levels? How do we make sure that we keep up? That's always a focus of ours. Calimesa is investing in the community through events and infrastructure. We're planning for our future through reasonable growth. The Summerwind project was part of the Burger Oak Valley project, Oak Valley Specific Plan. That was around before even the city existed. So only in Calimesa, unfortunately, only 633 homes of those 7,000 have been built so far. I think that would be qualified as slow growth. Calimesa obviously is fiscally strong, and that's something we're very proud about. But the thing is, Calimesa is embracing the charm. So with that, I thank you very much. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate your patience with me. And contact information on the screen if you want to know more. Thank you very much.